Manager tonight, who is going to be in charge of the fingers on the switches. And yeah, you're in charge tonight. So, are we live now, Mr. Rayleigh?
Live, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Town Clerk, may I ask for apologies for absence, please?
We have apologies from Councillor P. Sanders, Councillors Mrs. Johnson, Williamson and Sheldon.
Thank you. At this moment in time, I would like to welcome Councillor Pete Squire, who was recently elected in the elections, and I've asked Pete if he would like to now give a very brief outline of who he is, what he is and why he's here. Thank you, Pete.
Good evening, fellow councillors and members of the public that might be there. Thank you very much for your welcome. A brief background might be helpful for you in trying to work out who on earth I am. I was born and raised in Tavistock, and I've lived all my life here, apart from 10 years when I trained and worked as a social worker in Stoke-on-Trent and Nottingham. I come from a farming family near here, and I have farmed for 3 years with my father. The farm is Herdwick, just up the road, and this entire town is built out of Herdwick stone. So we've got some responsibility to give up our hedging stone for the infrastructure here. I'm a married man with a family that were raised in Tavistock, and my children were the fourth generation to be educated on the Tavistock school site. So we go back several generations. My grandfather was a rural district councillor. My father was a councillor in the parish known as Tavistock Hamlets, which is no longer in existence now, but we've met many times in this room, and two of my sister-in-laws were married in this room, so my roots have got several tendrils. I've worked as a social worker for, must be 30 years. I retired 5 years ago when I became a health manager with social care and education in Devon, and responsible for Northern Devon in that particular case, but I've also covered Southern Devon. So I've got some working familiarity with council structures, but from the viewpoint of an officer of the council, I should add. This is my first time as an elected councillor, so I'm going through a process of re-education and will endeavour to try to remember everything that's been said to me. But I have been retired 5 years. I'm slightly rusty. I've been privileged to work in international mediation, and I've just come back from Palestine, and I've been working in Thailand as well. So I have come across some very interesting government groups and policies which I have still sort of learning to recover from. That comes to an end as now I've got my new incarnation as a councillor, and I shall endeavour to put some action into that. And I live in my ward, and you can often see me walking around town either in a purple bowler hat or feeding pigeons. So there are eccentricities which I am no longer feel accountable for. But thank you all very much, and I hope that was brief enough to give you a background. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Squire. Item 2 is declarations of interest. If anybody has any, either declare now or as and when they come up during the meeting. Item 3 is the minutes of the council meetings. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the Town Council held on Tuesday the 26th of July. And if anybody has any matters arising that is not covered on the agenda, could they please speak? No. May I have a proposer and a seconder for those minutes? Councillor Poultry and Councillor Ward, have you been out training together? That was perfect timing. Synchronised. Yeah, synchronised swimming there, guys. Right. Item 4 is Councillor Mrs. Whitcomb, I can hear you giggling from here. Is the request for a member of the council to join the plans committee. So is there anybody here who is going to join the plans committee, please? I'm looking at you, Councillor Squire.
I think as the new boy, I'll be willing, obviously, to help wherever help is needed, and whatever that entails, I shall endeavour to live up to it. Is that acceptable?
That is very acceptable, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed. Everybody in agreement with that? Yes, quick show of hands going. Please don't feel that you've done anything terrible in life. Right, there we go, and that's all signed there, every page and every back page, there you go. I'll leave you to sort that out. Right, general finance, item A, schedule of payments. I understand that no questions have been passed to the office. Does anybody have anything now? No? Lovely. Oh, Councillor Ward, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It just struck me when I was looking through the list of payments that there seemed to be a number of different energy suppliers, a number of different information technology suppliers, and it all looks very messy. I just wondered whether there was any mileage in trying to consolidate that and engage the services of fewer providers, whether there'd be any economy of scale involved with that.
I can give a very brief answer to that, and thank goodness the General Manager's not here because we'd be here all night. It's like his pet subject, isn't it? He has, where he can, within contracts that we're in. Is that the one? It was something like that.
We have where we can. We are continuing to try to do so. We've done quite a lot of work in the energy side of things. We're currently looking at broadband access. It is remarkable, given the historic nature of some of the arrangements we have, how complicated it is turning out to be. But we are trying to do that so that ultimately, over time, we will end up with one package for each of those main areas. But it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, I must confess.
It's certainly something that's kept the General Manager going for many years. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and apologies to the Town Clerk because I haven't been in the area, so I haven't seen my papers until tonight. But I'm just interested in page 4526. There seems to be a payment of 3p for lift maintenance. I assume that's short for, which seems somehow cost more to do than it was to pay.
I don't know, but we'll investigate and get back to you if that's agreeable, sir.
Just going to pass it to the Town Hall Manager to see if it sort of rings any bells.
If that was for a complete maintenance, we're doing well. We won't say anything. It's not.
Maybe we had done a payment and we were 3p short or something. But it will be looked into and an answer will be given to everybody. Right. The budget monitoring report. There are extra details on some of these. And Town Clerk, have you had any queries on this?
No, Madam Mayor.
Is there any updates that you feel you would like to give us, or are they all self-explanatory?
I hope they are.
Right. Is everybody happy with that? Okay, lovely, thank you. Right, the Plans Committee. Councillor Ward, would you like to present, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And stopping where you need to.
Indeed. I'll endeavour not to put off our new member, so I'll keep it brief and as uncontroversial as I can get away with. Starting with the Plans Committee meeting of Tuesday the 9th of August, minutes numbers 69 to 76. If I could just draw your attention to minute 73, town planning issues. This refers to our discussion at the last full council meeting about the proposed housing development at New Launceston Road and our decision at that time to oppose it, which was at least in part based upon our belief that the land had not been allocated for housing development, but as you have heard from Councillor Parker, that turns out not to be the case. We had been misinformed. We therefore revisited this issue in the Plans Committee, and notwithstanding the fact the land is allocated, we still felt it was appropriate to oppose the development because of concerns about the road down into town and its ability to cope with the additional traffic, particularly given the building proposed on the Callington Road as well. I don't think there was anything else of note in that meeting. So,
Councillor Gibbons.
Sorry, I thought you finished. Yeah, just a point of information. It's come to my attention recently that all tree applications, whether for TPOs or conservation area trees, now go to Southampton, which I didn't know until yesterday.
Right, okay. Right, Councillor Ward.
Thank you. So the Plans Committee meeting of Tuesday the 30th of August, minutes numbers 77 to 85. Can I draw your attention to minute number 81, town planning issues, Tavistock Conservation Area. It was drawn to our attention by a member of the public that there are a large number of houses in the conservation area that have plastic windows. If you walk along West Street, Duke Street, Brook Street and look up, something perhaps that we don't do often enough, it's obvious that there's a huge range of plastic windows of different vintages, styles, and the member of the public wrote in basically saying this is inappropriate. They would have had to seek planning permission for these windows, and that planning permission should not have been granted. So we simply noted the comment. I replied to the member of the public that we have noted that comment. Interestingly, we considered an application at the same meeting where an applicant wanted to put plastic windows into an extension that was being added to a property within the conservation area. We opposed it, but I understand that the local planning authority has agreed it. Minute 83, Westbridge Cottages. I've already touched upon this with Councillor Sellis. A member of the committee expressed concern about the pedestrian crossing opposite Westbridge Cottages, and we recommend, and perhaps we've already done this, that the Town Council considers this matter at its next meeting, and Councillor Sellis should be advised accordingly. Perhaps members will agree that we've achieved that, but whether we need to do it in writing, I'd be pleased to take advice. Item 83.2.
Excuse me, I think what we need to do, Councillor Ward, taking advice from the Town Clerk, is that we need to feel as if we are all happy to support, as councillors, the recommendation that a stronger crossing is used, pelican, puffin, toucan, whatever, than the current zebra crossing system, and the visibility certainly needs to be looked at. Sorry, Councillor Moody?
I'm sorry, or move it? Yes.
Or move it, yes.
Can I support that, please?
Yes. So, as a Town Council, are we all happy that we write to the Highways Department and copy in Councillor Mrs Sellis with that? So can I see, is that going to be a recommend? Well, I'll recommend. Would you like to support that, Councillor Ward?
Yes, very happy to support that.
And can I, would you like to ask a question? Sorry, Councillor Mrs Wickham. Yeah.
If we move it, it's going to be more difficult for the children going to the school. I mean, if you move it upwards towards the bend, that would be worse. If you move it back, going down towards Morrison's, that's going to be ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we just need to be strongly supporting that something happens without being too dictatorial, I was going to say, that, you know, that we do want to see something happen. I think if we get into the specifics of it, etc., then maybe they'll say, well, you asked for this, and we're not going to do that. So I think we need to leave it quite broadly that we strongly support it. We recognise it is a route to school, and I think if we put that into the letter.
If we recommend it's improved, moved, or the bus stop relocated.
Right. Improved, moved, or the bus stop relocated. How do we fancy that wording within the letter? Okay. Councillor Rogers, before we go to a vote.
Madam Mayor, I think we're moving in the wrong direction. This is a case that there is a procedure and it's evidence-based. And what it becomes emotive. What you should be doing is looking at the facts, and so you should be pushing DCC to produce the relevant information and the statistics that then support whatever legislation then sets out. It's no good just thinking off the top of your head, oh, we'll move it, or we think we should do that. There's a set criteria of where these are placed, why they are placed there, and to move it, you have to have evidence to move it. So the letter should be to get DCT to do the survey. And then from that survey, you say, right, that meets the criteria of X, Y or Z, then that's what they should then do.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Rogers on this. It's a case of we need to know. If you remember back when we discussed the roundabout Drake statue, remember the sorts of statistics that councillors were given then about accidents, types of injuries, the way that, you know, the causes of the or proposed or suggested causes of the accident, those sorts of things. I think before you can suggest anything about a crossing, you need to be aware of what's happened, why they happened, what they even include the weather conditions, why these things happen. And I don't think you could propose moving it, changing it, or whatever until you. I think all we can do is ask the county to investigate that crossing, come up with the evidence. We're being told as a council that, and I've been told privately, this is happening, that's happening. Happened 3 times last week. Well, let's have the evidence first before we come to some sort of decision about what we want to happen. We want something to happen, but we need to, what we're pushing for needs to be in line with the evidence that we're given.
Councillor Smith and Councillor Rogers, are you happy to put forward your suggestion as an amendment to what we do? And then we need to vote on your amendment and the substantive motions and all that goes with that.
I'm happy to put forward an amendment and hoping that Councillor Rogers can second it. That the first step is that we ask for DCC to gather the evidence relative to incidents at this particular crossing.
Can I ask all those members who are happy to support the amendment to please show their hands? Okay, that is now becomes a substantive motion, so can I now ask you to all put your hands up again, please? Thank you very much. That's lovely, that's carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 83.2. This issue was considered in the Plans Committee because the Northern, Eastern, Western Devon Clinical Commissioning Group were due to meet for their annual meeting and the meeting of their governing body the following day. Therefore, there wasn't time to bring this to full council before their meetings. I'm sure many of you are aware that there is a proposal to change the way in which out-of-hours medical cover is provided to the town, and that there will, if this goes through, there will be no resident doctors in the town at night or at the weekend, and medical care will be provided from the out-of-hours centres at Derriford and at Oakhampton. We felt that this was inappropriate, and I was charged with writing a letter to the Clinical Commissioning Group to express our concerns. That I have done. I sent it by email to expedite its delivery, and I've had confirmation that it was received. But of course, it was sent in my capacity as chairman of the Plans Committee rather than representing full council. And therefore, I bring the letter to you to seek your ratification. And if you do so, then I think the letter should be sent in hard copy with an amendment to the effect that it's supported by the whole council.
Right, there's a proposal. Can I see a seconder for that? You'd like to speak, Councillor Moody, or second? Thank you very much. Does anybody like to speak on this issue? No. I personally would like to thank Councillor Ward for his very erudite letter. It's an excellent letter, and we're very lucky to have somebody amongst us who's actually able to write a letter of that calibre within the national health language. I think is the best way to put that, and hopefully our letter and our comments will be taken on board. So thank you very much indeed for that, Councillor Ward. Therefore, can I ask to see all those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 83.3, you are now already aware of this, the decision by the Planning Inspector to grant approval for the building of the houses on Butcher Park Hill. I don't think any further comment is needed from me on that matter. Item 83.4, Neighbourhood Plan. We had a discussion about the need for Tavistock to have a neighbourhood plan that would underpin the joint local plan. And the feeling was that there is a need for that, and there was some discussion about how we might actually achieve that. And I think at this point I might defer to Madam Mayor to make her comments on the issue.
Okay. This has been on task for many years for the council and has not been able to come forward for varying reasons. The time is right that we should be doing something to protect our town a bit more from developments, out of town developments, etc. This has been tasked to the town clerk as part of his work and his role, but it is not going to be something that sort of takes place in the next couple of weeks. This is looking at a 3-year project. So it's not going to happen overnight by any stretch of the imagination. It is one of the reasons why I asked the SIL question tonight of West Devon Borough Council to see what their plans are as to whether they are going to go forward with it or stay with Section 106s, because that will have some impact on the decisions that we make going forward. I think that we need to just not rush into this. We need to look at it carefully. We need to speak with the officers and how we are going to facilitate and what capacity issues that we will have. It is not a town council-led project as such. It is not meant to be seen as that. It is meant to be about all the community engaging within the plan. There are many different strands and groups that will have somebody who will look after those, but they will have their own committee underneath them. And that's how you bring in many elements of our society and community of Tavistock to be able to be involved. So it is going to take a little time to get set up. And as I say, I've discussed it with Councillor Ward. He still hasn't actually given me his answer yet. And I have not pushed him for an answer as to whether it will lie with the Plans Committee that will be its place within the Town Council, but that does not mean that the membership of that plan has to be exclusively Tavistock Plans Committee members. So people can come and get involved, etc. But it is the realisation that it is probably a 3-year project and that you will need to give your time, devotion. There will be all sorts of elements: education, housing, land allocation, sport, community groups from the Lions, Rotary, Century Garden, all sorts of things, are what we have that we can offer to this town. But some of it is specifically around land allocation, that if it's gone through us and through a referendum, it is easier when you come to a Plans Committee meeting to have notice taken of little old Tavistock Town Council, instead of sitting there thinking we're just going to be ignored when it gets up the road. They won't be able to ignore it in quite the same way if we have a plan that has been endorsed through referendum by the community. So that is what we're looking at doing, and when or if I have an answer from Councillor Ward, we will then meet with the assistant to the town clerk and the town clerk as to how we start to take this forward. But please believe me, it is not going to be a really quick thing. Okay, so if you think something's not happened in 6 weeks, you know, there are reasons, etc. Okay. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I think that the town clerk, I believe, has recirculated some documentation that he sent some time ago, which is, I remember the information, but it'll be good to read it again. The thing about a neighbourhood plan is that it isn't so much about capacity with the officers, although there is a requirement of some input from the officer. A neighbourhood plan is member-led, and members lead it in such a way that it involves working with many, many community groups, and it also involves a lot of work, like you say, a lot of consultation, but I believe that in the end, what you get from the benefits you get from having a neighbourhood plan really make the work that is involved in doing it worthwhile. Been to many meetings where there are people that are in the middle of creating their so-called neighbourhood plan. I'm well aware of the sorts of work that needs to be done, but I do believe that it's worth it, and I do think because it's member-led, it's of great value to all the councillors on this authority.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Does anybody else wish to make a comment? No? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think there was anything else of great note in the meeting, and therefore I beg to move.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for those 2 sets of minutes, please? Oh, right. Thank you, Councillor Gibbons. Can I see your vote for all those in favour, please? Thank you very much indeed. That's carried. Right, we now move down to items for circulated for information only. The service manager's reports. The general manager is not with us tonight. He's only literally just got back from his holidays. So he's not with us tonight, so we will have a report again next time round. Unless you have anything, which I don't think you do, that's vital.
I've spoken with him briefly. I don't believe that there's any material matters which he would he feels it's necessary to bring to your attention, particularly tonight. Okay.
We then have the Works Department report. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Councillor Gibbons?
I would like to know why we can't put a police desk and a tourist information office in either the Guildhall or Butchers Hall. I've been thinking this for a long time now. I'll just bring it up for people to mull over.
Okay, there are sort of... Councillor Smith.
Within the plans that are currently circulating and within the work that is currently being done, there is provision for tourist information. We have to be careful because previously we've talked, or in the past we've had, tourist information centre, but there is a difference between providing tourist information and having a tourist information centre. The most recent one locally that's been developed, tourist information, is the one at Oakhampton. And if you've been there, you'll find that most of the provision is electronic with a small amount of written copy. They do not sort of concentrate on providing places for people to stay, that sort of looking for people. What they do is provide information about the town, about the area, what's available, what you can do. We are in the process of developing what sort of tourist information provision we will have. Now, as you're aware from the plans that were shown at a meeting, what was it, in July, it may well be in the Guildhall, or it may well be in another provision. The police have always been keen to have a presence somewhere at some time in the town. But I'm aware also that the police have said that they've had a presence in the town, and really they've just been there and nobody's actually asked them anything or that. So when you say, oh, we'll have a police desk, if you're talking about police information, it's one thing. If you're talking about a police presence, then you have to take into account that the police own rules around their provision have stated that you've got what you've got, which you've got up at Abbey there.
It's not the same.
And it's not the same. But if you read the latest reports that went to the Southern Link Committee, it's quite clear that the police are in that situation where they're saying that that's the provision in Tavistock and that's it. But that doesn't mean to say that we couldn't develop some sort of provision as we move on, as we go forward. We will always work with the police, we'll work with all sorts of organisations in that provision, in that centre, and it may well be that we can come up with some sort of something that the police can support, because it's no good you offering it if the police don't support it. So we need to work with them to see if they can come up with some sort of provision.
Councillor Gibbons?
When we did have a police desk at the Guildhall, it was always busy. That's my first point. Second point is that I appreciate the police don't have the staff they would like, and they will have to man it. But it could be done on a part-time basis, perhaps 2-3 hours a day. So that's the second point. And I really think that we should get together with the police a bit more about this, because we've got an opportunity here with both the Guildhall and Butchers Hall to actually do something. And perhaps we should take advantage of that.
Okay. We do have Tavistock Matters police meetings that are with the council and with the police, so it can be taken forward to there. All members of the council are invited to those meetings, and I believe that Sergeant Dave Anning is going to be in charge of organising them now, isn't he?
I don't know something.
Did I read that? Okay, I'm sure I've read that somewhere. Thank you, Councillor Moody. So yes, those points can be taken forward. Councillor Mrs Whitcomb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we're very fortunate in this town to have a police presence on the street. Whereas from the national news last week, a lot of towns and that haven't got any bobbies on the beat at all.
So no, we are
yes,
lucky.
We are lucky.
Thank you. Right, was there any other questions to deal with the Works Department? Can we all note that report, please? Noted.
Well, can I just make a spot? If you look at, and this is not a criticism, but I think it's worth noting that under cemeteries, people relate cuts nowadays. When you hear cuts on the news, etc., you talk about removing services. And when it says the green burial section has now been cut, it means the grass has now been cut.
Yes, I think that's a good point there, Councillor Smith. That will be pointed out, that we haven't cut the green burials. Right, the Town Hall report. May I just ask you to please note the comment from the promotional brochure about the seating. The Town Hall manager was watching us while he was at work last meeting, and he was itching to say something that it was to do with formal seating and dinner seating, which is why there's a difference of 10 between those numbers. So he has now put it in his report. and the main protagonists of that aren't even here tonight. And has anybody else got any questions? Councillor Moody.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not a question, it's just a comment that just like to say I'm pleased to see that the lift has been repaired and also that you're planning on having a backup system of stair lifts as well, because the Drawn to the Valley, as you know, the town hall manager knows that during the Drawn to the Valley summer exhibition of art in the town hall, there were a number of disabled people who couldn't get into the building, and this was raised and by residents as well. But I'm very, very pleased that that's been addressed, and we're not going to have the same problem. If the lift breaks down again, at least we've got a backup system, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moody. I would just like to promote. I've printed it all off because I'm promoting this event for the Town Hall Manager. This is the Christmas pop-up party. This is an event that's being organised in-house by the Town Hall Manager and his team. It is not a private party as such. So I hope that some of you feel that we could go along, maybe have a councillors' table, or you can go with friends or whatever, but it'd be really great to see support for it. After the success of the Dad's Army and the LOLO events, I think it's great, and talked to some organisations about them maybe having their Christmas party, staff party, at the Town Hall at this event, which would be fantastic because it doesn't mean quite the cost of taxis, etc. So there we are, you've had a plug. Councillor Gibbons.
Just an idea, but could the town hall not be used for more concerts, gigs, things like that? Particularly, not so much in competition with the Wharf, but maybe more showcasing local talent. I don't know.
I think the Town Hall Manager could possibly answer that, because it's used for an awful lot of things that it was never used for before. In fact, with the tick box mentality that this country has now for health and well-being, I think the Town Hall delivers all of it for us, with all the activities that go on in the Town Hall to do with fitness and training. We have taekwondo, we have circuits, we have lots of different dance and movement classes, yoga classes. There is so much that goes on throughout the day within the Town Hall now. And actually, if any of you ever just go past the Town Hall Manager now has a little board outside that says what events are on for the week. If it's a private event, it says private wedding. But other than that, it tells you what events are going on. So you will see the multitude and diversity of the events that we host. And that is down to the hard work of the Town Hall Manager and his team. But thank you for raising the point. Can we note the Town Hall report then, please? Right, the Tavistock Pannier Market report, and I've also been asked to do another little plug. I feel like the plugging lady tonight. The Pannier Market traders and their events committee, their most recent event was the Road to Rio. And there wasn't as many councillors as there could have been. So now I'm going to plug in advance, because these events usually take place around holidays. Yes, it was Councillor Mrs Wickham now, I've realised I was in hospital. That they take place during the holidays or half terms. And this event is set for Saturday the 29th of October. And it's Star Wars Invades Planet Pannier. Now, our traders always dress up and get into the mood of things, and you know, they'd love as many of you as possible to get into the spirit of the day and dress up as Star Wars or science fiction characters, or even an alien. And this is their request. There's usually a children's event put on as well, so children, grandchildren, etc. There's always a little search, quiz type thing that's put on. And it is normally a very successful day for the market. So if councillors could actually go and support our market staff and their events committee, I'd be really grateful. and I'll try to remember to get an email sent out nearer the time as well. Thank you. Right, anybody any questions on their report? Lovely. The one thing I would just very much like to say is the Great British Summer Fete, the Miss Ivy event. I don't know whether any of you saw it on the square on Sunday the 28th. Sadly, the weather was atrocious, but the event itself, I was down there a couple of times, and it was so well laid out. There was so much going on, and this lovely lady who does singing from the 50s and things like that, she was beautifully dressed, made up, etc., and she was singing in the pouring rain, bless her. But it was a very, very well attended event, and I hope that they do another one there. And I think we just need to congratulate ourselves, the council, the staff, on the Coach Drivers Incentive Pack, which has won an award for its services to the coach industry in bringing coaches to Tavistock, etc. So we need to thank the staff for that, please, Mr. Stone-Clark. Can we note that report as well, please? Noted. Thank you. Right, moving on to finance and other matters. Little A we've already addressed, which is a pedestrian crossing. Little B, the Chamber of Commerce, their meeting, their minutes are not available from the 1st of August, but the Town Clerk and the Assistant to the Town Clerk did go to the September meeting last night, where they... Oh, and Councillor Moody, I didn't know that. But yes, all attended last night's meeting. The report to the Assistant to the Town Clerk, Mrs Smallcombe would like to speak to that report. So over to the Assistant to the Town Clerk, please.
Can I just give you a couple of updates, please? We're within the deadline, but can I encourage all councillors to respond to their invitation to the civic service by Friday the 16th, please, so that we can sort out the catering, seating plan, etc. in the church. So if you could get your responses back by then, I would appreciate it. You will also see that we're having a Macmillan coffee morning in the chamber on Friday the 30th of September to raise money for this very, very worthwhile cause. So if anybody is able to donate cakes, tea, coffee, milk, whatever, and please also do come and attend and bring friends and family with you if you can, because obviously they'll help towards our fundraising. Just a very general update, just to let you know, I will be recruiting in the administration office over the next couple of months. So please bear with us if there are times when we can't respond quite as quickly to requests for information and so on. I'm sure we'll keep on top of everything and get back up to speed as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. I hope you can all support the Macmillan coffee morning that I suggested. As a council, we've never actually done anything like that before. And I thought it'd be a really good idea. It might bring some of the public into this building who don't normally come in. I've spoken to various departments of the staff and they're very keen to be involved. So hopefully people will feel they can come along. If you could let me or the assistant to the town clerk, and she'd probably prefer actually if it was me, no. You're fine with that, okay. What you can bring in, drop in, whatever, cakes, biscuits, tea, coffee, milk on the day. But if you could let us know what you would be dropping in, that would be brilliant. And I think it would be really good for the town to show that we are going to do this, so that public can see that we are not just about sitting in faceless meetings. Thank you. Item D is the bid minutes from July. There won't be any from August because we don't meet in August. Does anybody have any comments on the bid meeting minutes? Sorry, leaping ahead there. No, okay. We have Little E, Dartmoor National Park Forum. Quite interesting comments within there about age profiles and length of service. So I thought it was quite an interesting point. Tavistock Heritage. We have the notes of the meeting held on the 18th of August, and Is it going to be you, Mr Town Clerk, add any points or answer any questions?
It's actually really just by way of an update, just to say that these were copies of the draft minutes which we circulated to you. I understand that some minor amendments have subsequently been made. We will recirculate those to you electronically once they're finalised, but I don't think they substantially or significantly affect the import of what there is here.
Councillor Smith?
I thought the amendments needed to be considered at the next meeting. I know amendments have been circulated by a member of the executive, particularly, but I thought they needed to be considered with any other amendments coming from the floor at the next meeting.
I think you're right, Councillor Smith, and we won't be in a position to circulate till after they've been considered by the organisation concerned.
In due course, in other words. Right. We also have the Tavistock, the Townscape Heritage Initiative, which is the plans at the back on the green, yellow and a bit of orange colouring. Thank goodness there's no red. Does anybody have any questions on there? No. I have a point that we can raise on an email that was sent to members last week, which was unlocking Tavistock's past. There's the Butchers Hall, Guildhall, Mount Kelly, St Eustatius Church, which you can get to go on the roof again, Catholic Church, etc., are all going to be opened up for newer members in particular to be able to go and get a tour from Butchers Hall and up on the roof. Apparently is not to be missed, according to the town clerk. So have a look at that. It has been sent out and it would be good to see some support for it. There is also on the 13th of September, isn't it? Oh, sorry. On the 13th of September, there are some workshop skills that members are invited along to if you want to watch line plastering and the such. We do need to book our attendance with, I can't remember Martin's surname, Martin Searle, who's the project manager, because places will be at a premium, yes. I'm not going to say limited because that's wrong, but at a premium. So if members would like to go along and look into that, they are more than welcome to do so. Right. To receive such communications from the Town Mayor, just very quickly, Civic Service we've done, Coffee Morning we've done, and Heritage Open Days. So that was all I was going to say. August has been an exceedingly quiet month with not one single mayoral engagement. September is filling very quickly. Urgent matters brought forward at the discretion of the Town Mayor. I have none. The Town Clerk... Oh!
Would you indulge me?
Oh, I don't know.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm being serious.
No, it's an issue that's been raised with me, and if tonight is not the right forum, please advise me.
Okay.
It's regarding the postal notification, the voting notifications to electors. When Mr. Squire was elected as council, Councillor Sheldon and I did raise it at a previous meeting, where we felt that at least the council should decide whether we send out postal cards or not. I've had a lot of response, and I know that through the council we've received issues.
Okay.
So can I put that onto a future agenda?
No, you're fine.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Town Clerk has an answer for you. Blue Petered here.
Certainly members did indicate at the last meeting, and it's in the minutes, that was something that they wished to be brought before members, and our intention would be that when we get a by-election in future, we will bring that on a case-by-case basis before members in order that they can decide whether or not they wish poll cards to be issued.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Goodbye, Sam. The Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960. Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. May I have a seconder to move, please? Thank you, Mrs Whitcomb. Right. Has Councillor Squire been